Yep, absolutely. Very cool. Chronic, a little further south in Bloomington, Indiana, basketball, not exactly having the season that fans had hoped. A number of things are going into that. They they weren't looking good. After beating North Carolina, it just went downhill from there. There just seemed to be this I don't know that look at us kind of a thing, and then they got punched in the face a few times. Then the injury bug hit them a little bit, but it's looking a little worrisome, long picture wise for this season for this team.
That's looking a little bit beyond worrisome. I mean, I know Woody was on his radio show last night saying, it's not time to panic. That's not who he is. That's well and good because me and those close to me are freaking the F out right now at just the prospects of where the season could slide to before it ever, at least the conference season ever really gets, going in earnest for a team that was picked preseason to win the Big Ten. They're currently sitting at 1-3 right now, with very little signs of life, quite frankly. And it's remarkable how rapidly things turned on Indiana. I don't know what. I know Galen Clavio, a good friend of mine, astute IU mind, swears something happened between November 30th and December 3rd, because it's like a flip switched, and they went from a really really tough team seemingly to pretty listless right now, to be quite honest with you, and it's unfortunate for a number of levels. Not the least of which because, as Xavier Johnson's absence has put more of a burden on Jalen Hood Schifino to produce. He certainly answered the call, but now we're looking at a situation where, Fino's on track to play his way out of the Big Ten and into the NBA here real quick. And Indiana's going to be looking at a total, reboot basically in their backcourt for next year, in addition to their front court, because Race is going to be gone, Trace is going to be gone. What's going to be left, except for a bunch of unfortunate L's this season, if they can't figure out a way to tighten it up? And as bad as the defense is, Indiana continues to shoot themselves in the foot offensively with the turnovers. The points they're allowing off the turnovers being the deciding factor, quite honestly, in 4 of their 5 losses. Just absolutely gave the game away by giving the ball away and allowing the other team to score way too many uncontested baskets. So even when they've had the spurts late, we saw it at Iowa, we saw it at Northwestern. Heck, we saw it against Arizona, where they were able to fight their way back in at the end. It's too little too late. When you're surrendering 20 plus points, given off of turnovers, and usually they're happening, bad passes, lazy cutting, things that are totally preventable, unforced, but putting the defense in a position where they can never get back in transition to really contest, and just giving it up too easy. And we've seen this team struggle offensively at times. It's certainly been improved this year, but certainly not sufficient enough to account for how bad the defense has regressed. So I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure what the magic recipe is to get it back, but they need to find it. They need to find it fast, because tomorrow night's game at Penn State is not going to be an easy one. And, honestly, there's really no easy games left in the Big Ten for the remainder of the schedule for Indiana right now. And you're going to have to take, with maybe the exception Northwestern on the road. But I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that statement scares the hell out of me to think any win in the Big Ten on the road is going to be easy. But it's going to be a slog. And they have proven so far they're not fit for the fight right now. And the biggest thing is you've got to arrest that slide, because we have seen what happens, particularly with this group when things go bad and it continues to compound, just how ugly it can get. And that's the absolute last thing Woody can afford right now, is to see all the wind go out of those sails, all the momentum, all the excitement he had built up around the program. That's how you lose out on future recruits. That's how the program continues to struggle. You just can't have that happen, and you've got to stop that by winning some games, and you got to start doing it soon.
Okay, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. And you brought up with Hood Schifino too, 3 to 6 assist to turnover ratio. That's where you miss Xavier, I think, in terms of, growing pains as a freshman point guard in the SEC, in the Big Ten, excuse me. in terms of, dealing with that pressure, on ball pressure, making decisions. It's not easy to ask a freshman to run an offense in a major conference. And for as good as he's been scoring, I mean, your main job as a point guard is to take care of the basketball.
Absolutely. And we'll have to see how that continues. Chronic, what's up next for you, my friend?
That's a great question, Jim. Hopefully get a little attitude adjustment tomorrow night, because there's nothing that can heal some wounds like a win on the road. And I think this team needs to do some soul searching and figure out what it's going to take to do that. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. Was Geo Baker right when he went on, I think it was Field of 68, and he basically said Indiana's soft. They've had a reputation for being soft, even with all the accolades, they're still soft. He certainly looks a little prophetic in saying that, and they've got to find a way to channel some of that toughness out here, because quite honestly, they seem to wear that reputation all too well right now as being a team that's going to wilt when the pressure gets turned up. So I would imagine it's probably pretty intense in there. I was hanging out after the game on Sunday, talking with some friends afterwards, and in doing so, we were seated in the student section, or where the student section normally would be, since they were still on break. Technically, they had opened those seats up, and watching all the fans who line up afterwards to get autographs, and then seeing the ushers come out and tell you basically that coach has closed it, they're done, they're going home, they're not coming back out. They've got to get to a point where they're comfortable showing their face after the game again. And right now, justifiably, understandably, they ain't there, and they need to get that back. And the easiest way to do that is to go out and show the world who you really are and what you're capable of. And as we've seen, this is a team that can beat some really good basketball teams. We saw at the end of last year, we saw quite a bit, I think, in November. Whatever it was that's left, they need to find a way to get it back and get some of that momentum back, because we're looking at a stretch here where, if this continues, they've moved from a top seed to now probably somewhere between 8 and 11, 8 and 12 seed. You don't want to find yourself in the same situation you were in last year, where you were scratching and clawing all February just trying to get on the right side of the bubble. But I don't know. I was that way in college myself. I needed a deadline. I needed that pressure in order to perform. I was a bad procrastinator, but you'd love to see this team figure out a way to get back on schedule and keep themselves squarely in the tournament talk, because right now they are trending in the absolute wrong direction.